Folks, welcome to another edition in Real Estate Experts. Today I'm bringing you a really special guest. I'm here in the, of all places, the Equestrian Centre of West Australia. I'm in a place called Pinjarra. And as you know, I'm always bringing you leading experts in real estate of how to get you top dollar, how to maximise the top price on your investment, and how to truly get you moved from A to B when transacting in real estate. And so with coach, author, speaker, I mean, the list of what Andrew does is a mile long, so I'm really honoured to be bringing you Andrew Butterley, mate. Thank you so much for hanging out, bud.
Thank you, thanks for having me here.
So, mate, before I get to really what we're here today, which is to pick your brains on how our viewers can get some tips on maximising top dollar for their property, mate, it would be remiss of me not to ask about some time you got to spend recently up close and personal with Sir Richard Branson. And mate, tell us what was the biggest lesson you learned when you got to be in the room asking questions of and learning from really one of the world's iconic entrepreneurs.
Yeah, very clever man, very special man. I think one of the biggest things I probably got was that he's now able to spend 80% of his time putting back to the community. And for someone that's got so much money and about to do that sort of thing, but putting back to the community to make it better for the rest of us is just a huge thing to be able to do.
It's interesting the way that he does on a global scale. You do for your town of Pinjarra that you kind of emulate that same thing, don't you? I mean, tell us just quickly about how you take that principle and you apply that in your town.
Yeah, I guess it's a small country town, so we try and put back in as much as we can. Obviously there's all the sporting clubs and primary schools and that sort of stuff that need a little bit. So we try and have a car wash every Saturday. So each Saturday we have someone different come along and sort of raise all the money for that event, whether it be the footy club, the netball club, or one of the primary schools. But it's just one of the things we can do. I
love the way you kind of also stimulate the local economy by keeping spending local. Tell us how you do that within your community and what that one little strategy that you've got that really has injected 7 figures back into spending business local rather than going to the major metropolitan centres.
Yeah, I guess being a small town, it's important to, small business is a big part of town. So what we've done, we've created a system called greenhouse dollars, where people that use our services get those as rewards, and every dollar that's spent in a small town creates 7. So if a dollar gets spent with the butcher, he can go and spend something with the bakery, and then the baker can go and buy petrol, the service station guy can go and buy the local paper. So every dollar spent creates 7. So if we can put $12,000 a month into the local community, that's going to create $1 million extra turnover, which is great for the town. Wow. And all the people that creates jobs, it just puts back.
Mate, I love it that's why I love interviewing experts like yourself and learning from people like yourself and Sir Richard who get to apply these principles that seem to be kind of universal. So, but let's get on to why I've pulled you out of your busy office. I want to pick your brains on how our viewers, because it's a minefield out there, as you know. You know, there are a million agents out there that say a million things, and the consumers out there, we really do get confused as to how to get top dollar for our property, because all the agents say that they can get us top dollar. How can, like, imagine there was one of our viewers who's up in Cairns or Sydney or Brisbane or a regional centre across Australia. How do we know that we're dealing with someone like yourself who's got the skills to get top dollar, who's got the track record? What are some of the things we can be on the lookout for that'll kind of disseminate the walkers of the talk versus the ones who are all talk?
I guess the first thing you look for is someone that's a nice guy or someone that's pleasant, because you've got to be happy to deal with that person.
Isn't it just par for the course?
It should be, but you'd be surprised sometimes. But wow. I guess the first thing is find someone that wants to be pleasant, easy to go with, and then they really have to follow up. Follow-up's a big thing. You know, our job's not just to put a bit of marketing out there. You need to have good marketing. You need to make sure that it's above the rest. You've got to do over and above what everyone else is doing.
Let's talk about follow-up. When you talk about that, tell us how much follow-up is, say, too much, where it's almost like the agent's like a stalker, versus not enough, where we don't hear from them ever again. Tell me where the balance is, in your opinion.
I guess the first one might be at the home open. You might get a SMS after the home open, just a friendly thank you for coming along. And then within that evening or early the next day, a phone call, just seeing what your interest was in the property, what you thought, any feedback you might actually have for the vendor. And then not long after that, there probably in a couple of days, a follow-up email, phone call, just to reassure that you've got everything you need out of that person of of what interest they do have in that property.
Yeah, okay. So you're leaving no stone unturned, but you're not crossing the line to become a stalker, and that's kind of where the viewer should be looking for that balance. Yeah, nice, okay. And you mentioned marketing quality. So tell us what should we be on the lookout for? Say the viewer does do exactly what you say, visits someone at their home open, at an open for inspection. What sort of marketing should we be on the lookout that would be quality versus maybe not so?
I guess realistically you've got to have a nice flyer, you've got to have another outlet. We have a magazine that we do, so magazine, nice big window display. That's probably a little bit old school, but it's still the old school things work. Just over and above, you just can't rely on the one thing. Internet these days is huge. The next big thing is going to be the videos that go with the internet as well. So it's just always changing. 20 years, it changes all the time. It just doesn't stop changing.
Actually, just tell us a little bit about what extra training that you've done, because I notice you've flown all around the country, all around the world to add to your own skills to get your sellers in Pinjarra top dollar. And I know the people of Pinjarra, they've got an easy choice. They can just choose you. What sort of importance do you kind of put on that extra training that you've invested in yourself and in your team?
Training's always been important. I started when I was quite young, so realistically I had to do more and had to do more training than anyone else, because at 22 years of age, coming up at someone that was 50 and 60, I always just tell people that they might have been there for 10 years, but have they got 1 year's experience, or have they got 10 years experience, or 1 year's experience 10 times over? You don't want to have someone that's only had that 1 year's experience over and over again. You've got to keep going out. You must go and get more training. Things are changing so quickly. They changed quickly before, but I think everything's changing. Technology is changing so much quicker now. We can do so much more, but you just need to keep abreast of it all. And there's always someone out there doing something different. Don't be the last one to get onto the bandwagon, be one of the first. Yeah,
that's an interesting question, because again, our viewers are all over the country, both regional and in the suburban centres. Do you see a difference in the way many agents work when they're working regionally versus, are the regional agents less responsive to these new technologies? Are you one of the rare cases that in a regional centre you really embrace these things early? Yeah,
there's some guys that will go over and above, and there's still some of the old-fashioned that still sit in the chair and smoke, and those probably aren't the guys you're going to meet in your home opens.
Yeah, understood. I love how you're the best of both worlds, that you take those principles that are old school, you mentioned before, that still work, and you apply them with a changing technology if it's going to be the thing that works. So I love that balance you've got, mate. Excellent. Andrew, my next question is really around that last point that you just made about the quality of marketing. Tell us about the importance of marketing. Is it not just like, I've had some people ask me, can't we just throw it up on the net, like on eBay, and it'll just sell? Tell us about the importance of marketing and how you seem to spread your marketing across a wide net. Tell us about why that's important.
Really, you want to leave no stone unturned. You don't want to leave the buyer missing out on it. You need to find every buyer out there possible. You can't sell a secret. So we really need to get as many people that could be interested in that property to know about that property. You really don't want to leave someone that would have paid a bit more and find out too late. So
tell us about which media you found are the ones that are doing that task that you just mentioned the best for you right now.
Right now, internet is a huge thing. I guess we also get a lot of buyers that are still local. So even with our flyers and that sort of thing, there's a lot of people coming from that. Our property magazine, that's actually been huge. That's improved a lot more than what I would have given it credit for.
Yeah, tell us about the magazine. So it's an independent magazine that you release personally and deliver locally?
Yeah, we do it locally. It's in the different shops and that are part of it. What we actually wanted to do was make it so it was something that people wanted to keep rather than just a weekly thing. But it's got the contractors that are in there, it's got how many local schools there are, how many doctor surgeries there are. A lot of people think that we're a small regional place, but we're actually a lot bigger than what we get credit for. So realistically, we wanted to sell that story as well. There's a bit of did you know information about Pinjarra and Murray Shire. It's actually quite interesting. We've got someone that works on it part-time that updates it all the time. It's always got more information. I've actually found a few things out myself in it.
Wow, I love it. So really the principle that our viewers have to understand is they need an agent that understands these marketing principles, and we go forward. I mean, Let me just ask you though, let's play devil's advocate. It sounds like that sort of thing's expensive. Tell us a little bit about the cost of that marketing, because I mean there are agents out there, some of whom seem to be able to do this marketing for free, and some of them charge like a year's salary for the marketing, and everywhere in between. Tell us about the cost of that marketing and who should be paying the bill and how all that works. I mean, there are some costs associated with transacting on a property. Tell us about the marketing.
There's always a cost, and I guess we have a small upfront marketing fee that we charge, but with our marketing fee, we've actually put that in line with our greenhouse dollars, where we actually give more back to the vendors when they sell. So it's a small amount up front, but it goes into the professional photos, the videos, and the things like the property magazine and that sort of stuff as well.
And then when it sells, you refund over that amount.
We do, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. It's sort of like an extra reward for being sharing the costs.
Wow, yeah, I love that. And of course, I love how that in turn gets distributed back to the community anyway.
Yeah, it goes back into helping the whole town grow again.
Wow, that's a true win-win. And I suppose on that same subject though, the cost of actually transacting a property also is reflecting in the agent's fee that they're charging. And again, like that, we're seeing some agents charging next to nothing. We're seeing some agents charge a small fortune. I know you're not the most expensive in your area, nor are you you're somewhere in the middle, but tell us about, for the viewer, how do we find out we're getting value for our cost, for our investment?
All right, so really the agent's got two jobs. One's to find the buyer, and the best way to find a buyer is to find buyers. More buyers, the more emotional attachment that you can get, and you can actually really drive that price, which leads us into the second part of the job, is to actually negotiate the very best price. And when you get a good agent that negotiates the very best price, he's going to get the most for the property for you. If you got someone that gave away his own money up front, what sort of jobs are they going to do for you?
So, Andrew, my next question is something that you spend a fair bit of time on in your book, Driving Sales. And actually, while I take this opportunity, mate, you've got to let me give, for our viewers, get a copy of it for now. I know you're selling it. I know it's a bestseller. Can I hit you up for a copy of it for our viewers? Yeah, awesome. Mate, thank you so much. Cool. So if the viewer, guys, if you just want to go to the website down below, grab yourself a free copy of Driving Sales, Andrew's book. In that book, you spend a fair bit of time on this mistake that you've seen happen in other agencies so often that you've even got a name for it, mate. Can you tell us about that mistake that costs sellers out there tens of thousands of dollars every day around the country, and what we can do to avoid it?
Yeah, it's probably called, we call it Leo the Liar. Leo the Liar, yeah, he's the guy that comes in and says how fantastic your house is and how much more he can get for it, and pumps it up to this huge big figure that he promised you he can get. Mm-hmm. And then once you give him the listing, he spends the next 6 months trying to get you down to where it should be. Wow. And realistically, if it's priced right, getting it sold in the first 4 weeks is where the best money is. I mean, really you need to be in the market early on. The longer you're on the market, generally the more you've left on the table.
Yeah, tell us why that is. Why is it damaging for a property to be on the market for more than those 4 weeks? And why is it that listening to Leo the Liar is painful and is damaging to that end price?
Well, the longer the property is on the market, the more people have disregarded it or said no to it already. So you're already losing buyers all the time by people saying there's not value. So you've already taken out 30 to 70% of your market that won't even look at the property. So really, to get it priced right and get that competition where the buyers are actually fighting over your property to help drive the price up, is much better than sitting there waiting for some dream that someone may actually fall in love with it and pay over the top that the bank won't give you valuation on.
Yeah, how long is that window?
That window, you really need to be getting offers in the first 2 to 4 weeks, and 6 weeks after that, it really starts to drop off. You'll notice with your inquiry levels, they just really start to drop off after 6 weeks. We do the research and keep track of properties, of how many hits they get on all through the campaign, and really after 6 weeks, the numbers really start to drop.
So if the viewer's got a property that's been on the market for 6 weeks or more, they really have to start having some serious conversations with their representative, and if they're getting less than satisfactory answers, they need to start looking at some choices, yeah?
Realistically, yeah. You'll either really find some way to refresh that property and give it a new lift.
Give it a marketing makeover. I love it. That's why I come to guys like yourself, mate, because you've got those skills to be able to do that. So tell us about why that's so important that you've been using a relatively new media in order to sell properties.
So above all that, really the buyers are getting emotionally attached with the audio, with the visual. They're just looking for longer. So that the longer they're looking, the more attached they get into that property, and the more they actually want to come and visit that property and actually go through it themselves. So it really just gets the heart of the buyer into the property, and that's the connection that you need to get.
I've seen some of your videos, and have you found that because you're on camera, you're building rapport with those buyers, that when they come and meet you physically at the open house, they already feel like they know you and they feel like they know the house? Are you using that rapport in order to, I suppose, like you said before, drive those prices upwards?
Probably don't realise it, but it's probably very true, because you do get to know someone. I mean, that's what video is all about. It's the visual and the sound. People know you before they get to the door. They've already met you. They've seen you on TV. You know, you're already part of that house.
Yeah, I love it. Your reputation as a smiling assassin is well deserved, mate. It's very cool. So tell us a little bit about the book. Tell us what the guys, when they get their free copy of the book, Driving Sales, tell us what, because we've had a snapshot of really some of those techniques that you employ here. Tell us a little bit about the book and why you felt it was so important to put that down on paper.
Really, the book was just, after 20 years, there was the same questions kept popping up. You're in a trade, so you know the trade. If I walked in a mechanic shop, I wouldn't know how to turn the engine over and change the oil and that sort of stuff. But the same questions I got asked all the time in real estate. It was easy to put in the book, let people learn early, and it's important. Like, it's tens of thousands of dollars that people leave on the table. If you're not getting the little things right, it can make a big difference to what you take home. And really, it's the last thing it's going to make you money. It's the last tax haven in Australia is your own home. Yeah. So it's really important to maximise any profit you can get out of your family home.
Yeah, mate, I agree. I love that some of those common sense tips that you've given aren't always common practice. And so, mate, having read the book myself, I know that there's a lot of value there for like $27 or whatever it is that you're charging. And mate, thanks again on behalf of the viewer for shouting my view as a copy, mate. Much appreciated.
Excellent, thanks.
So folks, another edition of Real Estate Experts in the Can. Andrew Butterley, what a prime example of implementing the right techniques and the right strategies here in a relatively unlikely place in WA's premier equestrian home, and that's Pinjarra, down the southern suburbs of WA. So folks across the country, thank you for listening in to another edition of Real Estate Experts. Andrew, thanks so much for hanging out, bud.
Thanks very much.